In the middle of the Indian jungle, a group of humans desperately attempt to flee an aggressive tiger. A woman clutching a baby rips her dress while trying to escape, but her husband doesn't make it. Shere Khan kills many people in the massacre, something Ka describes as an act that broke the jungle's ancient law. In the aftermath of the chaos, a black panther named Bagheera finds an abandoned baby boy. Sensing Shere Khan nearby, Bagheera rescues the child from certain death. Ka watches from a distance as he leaves the child at the mouth of a cave and slips away into the darkness. A wolf pup comes out to see the child, but the boy accidentally frightens the wolves. The cub's parents, Nisha and Vahan, come out to see what's happening and are stunned to find the human child. Realizing the man cub isn't wounded and doesn't fear the wolves, they consider their next steps. But they're soon disrupted by Tabaki, a frightened hyena looking for food. The wolves conceal the man cub from Tabaki, who flees to report back to an angry-sounding Shere Khan. Nisha leaves to call a pack meeting about the cub. She wants to keep the baby and raise him as their own. The wolf pack gathers at a council meeting, where Nisha reveals what they found. Presenting the boy to the wolves, Nisha proposes that she and Vahan raise the cub as her own. Akela, leader of the pack, asks who supports the proposal, with Bagheera stepping forward to voice his support. He also volunteers a bear named Baloo, who objects to the idea of a human being raised by wolves. Cinema recap here. We've got a little challenge that'll take 5 seconds, and it will change your life forever. You ready? All you gotta do is like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, and you'll receive 10 free years of good luck. It's as simple as that. The meeting is interrupted by the arrival of Shere Khan, who reveals he killed the boy's parents and believes he is now owed the child. Akela and the pack step forward to take ownership of the boy, threatening Shere Khan with the wrath of all the wolves, as well as Baloo and Bagheera if he tries to harm the cub. Khan vows to take any opportunity he gets to kill the man cub and leaves the council meeting. Recognizing the danger, the wolves officially adopt the cub, with Akela vowing to stand by the boy as long as he lives. 10 years later, a fully grown Mowgli is still living amongst the wolves. Bagheera teaches him how to hunt like a true predator, to look his prey in the eyes when they die so the soul doesn't depart alone. Mowgli asks Bagheera why he's different from the other wolves, but Bagheera assures him that he's not different at all, he's just special. Baloo teaches Mowgli the important 3 laws of the jungle. Wolves may not have contact with man. Wolves may not hunt man's animals, especially not the sacred cow. And wolves shall not kill man in the jungle, for killing man only brings danger. In the woods, Mowgli plays with an albino wolf named Boot. The two bond over their unique differences from the rest of the pack. Both are considered to be freaks in comparison to the other wolves. Returning to the cave, Mowgli and Boot are criticized and mocked by the other wolves, who point out how slow and weak they are. As the other wolves beat up Boot, Nisha steps in to end the fighting and encourages Mowgli's training. He can be a wolf if he really wants to be. Baloo prepares Mowgli and the other wolves for a rite of passage they must pass to become full-fledged members of the pack, the running. In the test, the wolves pretend to be prey and must outrun Bagheera. According to Baloo, no wolf has ever failed the test. Unfortunately, despite his best efforts, Mowgli cannot keep up with the rest of the pack. In the jungle, he sees a monkey's hand holding some fruit and follows his temptation. But just as he's about to grab the fruit, Baloo pulls him back down to earth. Baloo insists that the monkey people are too dangerous and unpredictable to hang around. According to him, having no fear is a foolish thing when you live in the jungle. And the monkeys are the most foolish of all. They don't even fear Ka, a python as old as the jungle. She can see the past and the future. In the jungle, Mowgli and Baloo find a mutilated corpse of a cow, a blatant breaking of the law of the jungle. Baloo tells the wolf pack about the murdered cow. They're horrified and angered by the breaking of the sacred law. Realizing that Shere Khan has returned, the wolf pack argues for Mowgli to be handed over to Shere Khan, but Nisha urgently argues against it. That night, Akela tells Baloo and Bagheera that Shere Khan is looking to start a war with Akela. With Akela gone, Shere Khan will be able to have complete control over the jungle. Everyone wants to protect Mowgli, but their approaches are too different. Bagheera wants Mowgli to go to the man village, but Akela sees that man is taking over the jungle. Mowgli may be their last hope of survival. Bagheera isn't convinced, but Akela insists that the pack will accept Mowgli if he can pass the running. When Baloo suggests that Mowgli can't do it, Akela insists that he find a way. The next day, Baloo gives Mowgli more intense one-on-one training, with a twist. Rather than teaching Mowgli to be a wolf, Baloo teaches him how to use his human traits to his benefit, climbing and jumping between trees. While swimming underwater, Mowgli gets a glimpse of Shere Khan above the surface, lapping up a quick drink and cleaning the blood from his mouth. Mowgli tries to hold his breath, but some bubbles escape to the surface. Shere Khan notices but decides to leave. Mowgli bursts through the surface to grab some air and flees before Shere Khan can catch him. Mowgli runs through the jungle, pursued by Khan. In his panic, Mowgli falls into a pit trap set by a hunter, narrowly surviving the fall. He can see Shere Khan circling the pit above. A large, sinister-looking trunk slides towards him, wrapping itself around Mowgli's waist and lifting him out, revealing it to be an ancient elephant with a broken tusk. Bagheera arrives to find the boy alive and well, thanks to the elephant. As Bagheera takes Mowgli home, Shere Khan retreats into the shadows. That night, Bagheera and Mowgli watch as the humans get nearer to the jungle. Bagheera explains that they're hunting the tiger killing their cattle, but Bagheera doesn't have much faith in them. Shere Khan is clever and cunning. Bagheera tries to convince Mowgli to go to the man village for his safety, revealing that the boy isn't a wolf at all. He's a man. Mowgli refuses to believe it, but Bagheera explains that Shere Khan killed his parents and wants him. If he doesn't pass the running, the pack will expel him, which means he'll probably die at the claws of Khan. Mowgli insists he won't fail, but Bagheera wants him to promise that he will go to the man village if he does fail. Mowgli says nothing. Mowgli takes a closer look at the humans, led by a hunter named Lockwood. He watches as Tabaki gets too close to the human village, accidentally setting himself on fire. When Mowgli asks about the fire, Tabaki explains that man's fire is something to be feared, a kind of dark magic that causes immense pain. Mowgli once again denies that he's a human, but Tabaki laughs. He dreams he's a tiger, but he always wakes up a hyena. Later, Mowgli looks out over the water as Nisha checks in on him. He tells her that all he ever wanted was to be a wolf and for the others to see him as an equal. Nisha assures him that he belongs with the pack and that he should not let anybody make him think otherwise. He is her son, no matter what. The next day, Akela introduces the young wolves and Mowgli to the running. Now determined to prove himself, Mowgli uses every trick at his disposal to excel at the race. Running on two legs, swinging and jumping from trees, Mowgli takes the lead, even evading an attack by Bagheera in the process. But just as he's about to cross the finish line, Bagheera pounces on him, making Mowgli the first to fail the rite of passage in jungle history. Mowgli rejects the claim, insisting that Bagheera unfairly targeted him. He angrily storms into the jungle. In the jungle, Mowgli is again tempted by the monkeys and their fruit. With nobody to stop him, Mowgli plays with the monkeys, to the amusement of Boot. But when he finally grabs a fruit, Mowgli is pulled up into the trees. Boot runs away in terror. Elsewhere in the jungle, Baloo and Bagheera argue over the race results, with Baloo accusing Bagheera of rigging the outcome to ensure that Mowgli would leave the jungle. As they fight over who cares more about the boy, Boot hurries over to tell them that the monkey people have taken Mowgli. Baloo and Bagheera stop fighting and rush away to save him. In the middle of the jungle, Mowgli is dragged, kicking and screaming by the monkeys, who knock him out and deliver him to Shere Khan. Khan plans to spare Mowgli to ensure more discord will spread throughout the pack. He claws Mowgli's arm so he can enjoy a taste of the boy's blood, but Baloo and Bagheera arrive just in time to fight off Shere Khan and the monkeys. They're soon overwhelmed until Kaa arrives, rescuing Mowgli and scaring away the other animals. Mowgli returns to his pack but doesn't understand why Kaa saved him. Mowgli watches with disappointment as the new wolves embark on their first hunt, without him. Boot arrives and tries to comfort his friend with the offer of their own hunt. When Mowgli admits he's not a wolf, Boot laughs at his best friend, reminding him that they are wolves, they're just special. But Mowgli lashes out and calls him a freak in a moment of anger. Heartbroken, Boot abandons Mowgli and escapes into the jungle. Mowgli seeks out Kaa to discover why she saved him. Kaa explains that the whole jungle has been watching him because of his biological differences. One day, she says, he will speak and the jungle will listen. She wants to know what he will say when the day comes. Out on the hunt, Akela comes close to taking down their prey, only to fail at the last moment. When he returns home, he finds Shere Khan waiting for him. Khan accuses him of being the one who caused all the chaos in the jungle, and now, since he missed his kill, the wolf pack must challenge Akela for leadership. Knowing that's part of the jungle law, Akela accepts. Mowgli returns home in time to see Akela fending off his challengers. Baloo forbids him from intervening, but Mowgli realizes what's at stake when he sees Shere Khan. When Akela eventually falls, Khan will take over, bringing true chaos to the jungle. Mowgli escapes into the darkness as Akela is overwhelmed by his challenges. In the village, Mowgli scares a woman and steals some fire. A wounded Akela struggles to continue the fight until Mowgli rushes in, using the fire to chase off Shere Khan and the challengers. Akela demands that Mowgli leave, believing that the boy has brought great shame on the pack by using man's weapons against the wolves. Banished from the pack, Mowgli reluctantly journeys into the jungle alone. Mowgli is quickly discovered by the villagers, who knock him out. The following day, Mowgli wakes up to find himself locked in a cage in the human village. Unable to escape, Mowgli is given food by Lockwood, the hunter, which he rejects. The children of the village throw rocks and bully him. That night, Bagheera visits Mowgli but refuses to rescue him. Bagheera explains that he was born among man. Once, he was a pet to a king, who kept him locked in a cage. Over time, he came to enjoy a domesticated life. Bagheera regrets that he couldn't teach Mowgli to be like all the other animals, but insists it wasn't possible. Mowgli tells Bagheera that he loves him, but Bagheera encourages him to gain the trust of the humans and heads back to the jungle. Mowgli wakes the next morning to see that the cage is open. He wanders out into the camp, stealing a bite of a dead animal Lockwood caught. Lockwood hands the boy a knife, teaching him how to slice and cut his meat. Lockwood recognizes Mowgli's arm scar as being from Shere Khan, revealing his own battle scar. They have a common enemy. Mesua, a village woman, bathes and cleans Mowgli as if he were her son. She gives him shoes, teaching him how to walk like a human. Over time, Mowgli becomes an integrated part of the village, befriending the other children and becoming close to Lockwood and Mesua. Lockwood gives Mowgli a knife pouch of his own to keep around his neck for hunting. Mowgli hugs Lockwood, proving Bagheera's words right. He finally belongs in the world of man. One day, Brother visits Mowgli and asks him for help. Shere Khan has taken over the pack, banishing Akela and those who stand by him. The pack is now facing constant threats to their safety, and they desperately need Mowgli's help, but Mowgli refuses. After all, they abandoned him when he most needed them. The village is his home now. Mowgli and the villagers take part in the celebratory Holy Festival, a fun affair that everyone in the village enjoys. That night, Mowgli listens to a conversation a drunken Lockwood has with his Indian friends, but can't understand what they're saying. When he can't walk, Mowgli helps Lockwood to his tent. Inside the tent, Mowgli puts Lockwood to bed and explores his private quarters. There, he finds a collection of taxidermy equipment and Boots' stuffed head. Mowgli is horrified, but the drunk Lockwood joins him to brag about his finds, knowing the boy doesn't understand a word he says. As Lockwood goes back to bed, Mowgli cries, devastated to have been betrayed by man and animal. The following day, Mowgli sneaks into Lockwood's tent, pulls out his blades, and considers killing him. But he can't go through with it. He notices a giant tusk on display beside Lockwood's bed, the broken half of the tusk that belonged to the ancient elephant that saved him. Mowgli steals the tusk, returning it to the ancient elephant and making a deal. Mowgli will show the elephant which hunter stole the tusk if the elephants will help him rid the jungle of the tiger. Mowgli approaches Akela and the other followers with the same deal. Akela, still angered about Mowgli's breaking of the laws of the jungle, refuses to work alongside Mowgli. He again expresses disappointment that Mowgli has become a man and not a wolf. But Mowgli now claims that he is neither man nor wolf. Akela refuses to allow his followers to go with Mowgli. But Bagheera almost rebels. Tomorrow, Mowgli announces the tiger will die. The next day, Mowgli ventures to the edge of the jungle near the human village, armed with his knife, and calls out for Shere Khan. Hearing Mowgli's cries across the jungle, Bagheera appeals to Akela to consider helping the boy. Shere Khan finally makes his appearance, confronting Mowgli and mocking him for using a man's tool in battle. As Khan approaches, Mowgli lets out a wolf cry that signals the elephants, leading Khan to be quickly overwhelmed and beaten up. Mowgli leaps on Khan's back, stabbing him and narrowly escaping an attack. Khan finds himself trapped in a tree, allowing Mowgli to retrieve his knife and stab the tiger again. A gunshot disrupts the fight as Mowgli realizes that Lockwood is getting involved. Mowgli points him out to the ancient elephant as the hunter that took the tusk. In the jungle, Baloo, Bagheera, and the others rebel against Akela's instructions, rushing out to help Mowgli. Lockwood aims at Shere Khan but misses his shot, accidentally shooting Mowgli instead. As Shere Khan barrels towards the injured boy, Akela knocks him out of the air, saving Mowgli. Lockwood, meanwhile, is stampeded and killed by the elephants. As Shere Khan gets to his feet, Mowgli receives backup from Baloo, Bagheera, and the rest of the wolves. Akela is fatally wounded from the fight with Khan, but forgives Mowgli for what he did. He encourages the boy to lead the pack before he ultimately gives into his wounds. A determined Mowgli grabs his knife and raises to his feet to finish the battle. Kaa watches, knowing this is the moment she foretold. Mowgli approaches the fatally wounded Shere Khan, looking the beast in his eyes as he dies, just as Bagheera taught him. But Shere Khan isn't dead and lashes out for one final swipe. Mowgli, anticipating it, dodges the attack and kills Khan with one swift movement. Having witnessed Mowgli's impressive story, the animals come out in celebration, accepting him as king of the jungle. The ancient elephant raises the boy onto his back, marching him back to the home of his pack. Kaa finishes the story, telling us that Mowgli, neither man nor wolf, gave the jungle a voice. As long as he lived, there would be peace between both worlds. The animals watch in awe as Mowgli stands over the jungle. In 1960s London, Estella is born with half black and half white hair. Because she looks different, she's considered an outcast and struggles to fit in with society's expectations. The young Estella is very creative and has a great eye for fashion. though her mother, Catherine, tries to teach her that she'll need to be able to follow patterns if she's to become a great designer. Estella, of course, refuses to do what is expected of her. She's brilliant, bad, and a little bit mad. Catherine sends Estella to a private school, urging the young girl to keep her bad side, which she has named Cruella, under control and embrace her good and kind nature side. But this doesn't last long, as Estella is clearly too odd to fit in. She makes one friend, Anita Darling, but the other students relentlessly bully and mock her. Unwilling to conform, Estella embraces her bad side, fighting back against the students, who eventually throw her into a dumpster. There, she finds a stray dog whom she adopts and names Buddy. Estella's bad behavior lands her in the headmaster's office over and over, making her a problem child and sending her mother into conflict with the school's headmaster. Estella's mother withdraws her from school in order to keep her record clean, despite the headmaster's enthusiasm for expulsion. Catherine drives Estella and Buddy to London, hoping to start a new life and encourage her daughter's fashion dreams. But first, Catherine stops at a magnificent winter ball at Hellman Hall, explaining that she must speak with an old friend to get the money they need for their new life. Estella wants to see the gala, but her mother insists she stay in the car while she's inside, and asks her to look after a red necklace, which she describes as a family heirloom. But after spotting a unique-looking dress, Estella and Buddy immediately leave the car to check the party out for themselves. Inside, Estella is awed by the extravagant fashion, feeling, for the first time, that she truly belongs. But when Buddy breaks free, Estella is forced to chase him through the crowded room, immediately drawing the attention of the Baroness's valet and right-hand man, John. He manages to catch her, and after seeing her black and white hair, covers her up and tries to escort her out. Estella once again breaks free. Cinema recap here. We've got a little challenge that'll take 5 seconds, and it will change your life forever. You ready? All you gotta do is like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, and you'll receive 10 free years of good luck. It's as simple as that, but is soon chased by 3 vicious Dalmatians and forced to hide outside. Estella falls over, but the 3 dogs run right past her. As she sits up, Estella is forced to watch as the dogs lunge at Catherine, pushing her off the cliff to her death. As the partygoers come to see what happened, the Baroness claims that it was an accident, and that the woman was accosting her for money. Estella blames herself for her mother's death and runs away, seeking refuge on a garbage truck. She doesn't notice that she's left behind her mother's necklace. Eventually, Estella makes it to the Regent Park Fountain, a place she wanted to visit with her mother. After apologizing for messing everything up, Cruella realizes that she lost the necklace her mother gave her. The next morning, Estella wakes up, having fallen asleep on the fountain. She sees 2 petty thieves, Jasper and Horace, and their one-eyed dog, Wink, swiping the money from the bottom of the fountain. Jasper quickly sees that Estella doesn't have a family, but when the cops show up, the trio grab their dogs and run. The brothers do their best to outrun her, but Estella and Buddy manage to keep up, even making it into their hideout. The boys introduce themselves to Estella, and she reveals that she's an orphan. Jasper sympathizes with her and urges Horace to remember that feeling, convincing him that Estella could be a good fit for their group. Having a girl around could make for an innocent distraction. Estella finds a safe place with the boys, but her two-toned hair is too obvious for a life of crime, so she dyes her hair red. 10 years later, Estella is a fully grown adult, living with Jasper, Horace, Buddy, and Wink as successful petty criminals. They successfully pickpocket strangers on the bus, break into homes, run cons in the hotel to steal guests' belongings, and frequently find themselves on the run when the police turn up. Although she's content with her simple life of crime, Estella continues to work on her fashion, longing for a career as a designer at Baroness von Hellman's prestigious couture company, the House of Baroness. On her birthday, Jasper and Horace steal a cake and give it to her with an extra special gift, a job offer from the Baroness's store, Liberty. Jasper reveals he pulled a few strings to get her accepted, namely breaking in and dropping her resume on the top of the pile. Estella is excited about the opportunity, but Horace thinks they're using the job as an angle for a con. Estella is deeply disappointed to find that her new job isn't as a glamorous fashion designer at all, but as an underappreciated janitor. Despite her best efforts, her boss won't even begin to look at Estella's designs, instead giving her much more cleaning work. Horace and Jasper arrive with lunch, but Estella quickly realizes that they're looking for the angle, an opportunity to rob the place. Estella insists that she wants to work honestly, with absolutely no crime in the store. The trash bag she's carrying gets poured onto her, leaving her filthy. Yet another thing her boss scolds her for. Ordered to stay and clean overnight. Estella steals some alcohol from his office, drinks herself into a stupor, and seeks out the window display, which she finds hideous and unfashionable. The next morning, Estella wakes up hungover by the window, having radically redecorated the window display in her own vision. Her boss prepares to fire her, until he discovers that the Baroness is visiting. Estella tries to hide with Horace and Jasper, who have already stolen their share of goods. But when the Baroness asks who's responsible for the window display, her boss rats her out and announces her imminent firing. To everyone's surprise, the Baroness reveals she's pleased with her work and offers Estella a job. Estella goes to work at the House of Baroness, conceiving of all new and original dress ideas and designs, hard work that is quickly noticed by the Baroness. Estella and the Baroness become fast friends because of Estella's beautiful work and designs, but Estella soon realizes that the Baroness is a cold and sociopathic woman. After work, Estella visits a vintage shop where she befriends the owner, Artie. She notices a stunning red dress in the window, a vintage design by the Baroness. Having successfully convinced the Baroness that she is a talent, Estella becomes close with her boss. But then she sees a necklace around the Baroness's neck and quickly realizes that it's the same one her mother gave her. Estella asks about it, and the Baroness claims it's a family heirloom, concocting an elaborate tale about a former employee that tried to rob her and then fell to her death. At this moment, Cruella starts to feel a deep sense of hatred for the Baroness, realizing that it was her gala that they attended the night of her mother's death. Estella tells Horace and Jasper what happened and insists that they use the opportunity to pull off a heist. She wants the necklace back. Over the next few days, Estella uses every moment to plan for the heist, memorizing every part of the Baroness's schedule, keeping an eye on the guards and their movements, and locating the cameras. She quickly realizes that the Baroness will recognize Estella if she attends, but Estella has another plan. On the night of the gala, Jasper and Horace arrive at the building as pest exterminators, sneaking into the building by using Wink as a dog-sized rat. While Horace makes for the safe, Jasper sneaks into the security mainframe. Estella, meanwhile, crashes the party in that stunning red dress with her natural hair, making a grand entrance as Cruella and stealing all the limelight from the Baroness. After taking down the Baroness's guards, Cruella sits down for a chat. Meanwhile, Horace makes it to the safe, only to discover that the necklace isn't there. The Baroness is wearing it. As the Baroness prepares to kick Cruella out of the party, Jasper stages a grand distraction, releasing rats into the party as a huge distraction. Amid the confusion, Cruella quietly grabs the necklace and gives it to Buddy, but one of the Dalmatians intervenes, swallowing the necklace. As the Baroness uses a dog whistle to give orders to her Dalmatians, Estella realizes that the Baroness was using the same whistle when the dogs attacked Catherine, meaning it was the Baroness who murdered her mother. With the heist a blatant failure, the thieves escape the estate only to find their truck has been towed. Estella hotwires a car to escape, but soon stops and cries at the realization that the Baroness was the one who killed her mom. The next day, Cruella orders the thieves to kidnap the 3 Dalmatians until one of them gives up the necklace through natural means. Now living fully in her Cruella persona, she pays a visit to a childhood friend, Anita Darling, now working as a journalist, and the only one to realize that Cruella and Estella are the same person, and convinces her to use her journalist connections to spread publicity for Cruella. Meanwhile, Jasper and Horace clumsily stage a dog napping of the Dalmatians while they're being bathed. Now, focused entirely on revenge, Cruella spends the next few weeks working to upstage and humiliate the Baroness through sheer style and publicity. Cruella makes a habit of going to the Baroness's extravagant parties in increasingly over-the-top and stylish outfits, pushing the Baroness off the front page and making sure everybody is talking about Cruella. The Baroness, now a mere footnote in the cultural discussion, grows increasingly furious about Cruella's constant antics. She fires her lawyer, Roger Ratcliffe, for his bumbling failure to locate, identify, and arrest Cruella, before tasking Estella with designing a special dress for her upcoming spring collection. Estella uses an expensive, foreign material to construct the dress, which clearly impresses the Baroness. That night, Horace and Jasper break into the house of the Baroness and create trouble, making it appear as if Cruella had broken in overnight. Paranoid and angry, the Baroness orders that all of her dresses be stored in a highly secured vault. At the hideout, Jasper and Horace start to develop a negative attitude towards Cruella due to her constant verbal abuse and lack of appreciation for their work, but she shows seemingly no remorse. On the day of her spring collection presentation, the Baroness opens the vault containing her dresses, only to discover a huge swarm of moths inside, which have eaten through the dresses. Realizing that the material Estella used was actually moth eggs, the Baroness pieces together that Estella and Cruella are the same person. Outside, the Baroness discovers that Cruella, Jasper, Horace, and Artie are putting on a show in Regent's Park, once again stealing attention from the Baroness. Cruella, dressed in a Dalmatian-style dress, makes a huge splash, with the Baroness believing that Cruella killed her dogs. Cruella returns to the hideout to discover that the Baroness and her goons have tied Jasper and Horace up, part of the plan to frame them for Cruella's murder. As she's also tied up, Cruella reveals that she knows the Baroness killed her mother, but the Baroness suggests that she's killed so many people she can't remember who Cruella's mother was. The Baroness sets the hideout on fire and leaves, but as she's backing out, Cruella notices a mysterious figure coming to save her. As the building burns, all of London hears that Cruella is dead. Estella wakes up the next morning in John's house along with the dogs. Having found the necklace, John reveals that it was the key to a box containing Estella's birth records. In those records, Estella is revealed to be the Baroness's biological daughter. He explains that while the Baron did want children, the Baroness did not, believing that a pregnancy would ruin or stifle her career. After giving birth, the Baroness ordered John to get rid of the child, but John could not bring himself to murder the baby, so he gave her to their sweet maid Catherine, who raised Estella in secret. Devastated by the revelation, Estella runs away and retreats to the fountain in Regent's Park, where she makes her peace with her adoptive mother and officially embraces her new full-time identity as Cruella. Brilliant, bad, and a little bit mad. Stealing a truck, Estella and Wink break Jasper and Horace out of prison, but they're still mad at her for mistreating them. She convinces them to come with her to John's house, where she proudly refers to them as her family. Now reunited, the crew concoct a whole new plot to bring down the Baroness once and for all. In the meantime, Cruella pays a visit to Artie, recruiting him for a big role in the plan. Horace steals Estella a new car called a Panther De Vil, and points out the similarity to the word devil, though it's pronounced De Vil. Estella quite likes the name. On the night of the Baroness's latest ball, she's shocked to discover that all of her guests have been tricked into wearing black and white Cruella wigs and outfits to honor Cruella. Unable to identify the real Cruella, the Baroness and her guards are on high alert. Cruella, who's already in the mansion, pokes the Baroness with a pin and grabs her dog whistle before slipping into the bathroom to change. Soon, the Baroness is dragged outside by the Dalmatians, where Estella stands with the dog whistle in the very spot that her adoptive mother was killed. Inside the mansion, Horace, Jasper, Artie, and John begin directing people outside. The Baroness lets go of the dogs, allowing them to speed towards Estella as they did with Catherine, but the dogs settle beside her, having come to obey their new master. Estella reveals that she is the Baroness's biological daughter, allowing the Baroness to take full credit for her creative genius. Hoping to make things better, the Baroness suggests that they could run the company together, mother and daughter. She slowly approaches and embraces Estella in a hug. After hugging her daughter, the Baroness pushes her off the cliff to her death. Realizing that everybody in attendance witnessed the blatant murder, the Baroness attempts to cover it up as an accident. Estella reveals that she survived the fall thanks to a tailored skirt made into a parachute, an ingenious design by her and Artie. As the Baroness is led into a police van for the arrest of Estella, Cruella arrives at the party in the De Vil, once again surprising everybody and upstaging the Baroness in her most humiliating moment. Cruella reveals that Estella left everything in her will to her, meaning all of the Baroness's fortune is now Cruella's. After holding a funeral for Estella, Cruella brings Horace and Jasper back to the newly renamed Hell Hall. Now that she's an heiress, Cruella De Vil decides to keep the estate and live there with her new crew. With John and Artie in for the ride, Estella tells her new team that she has big plans in store. Later, Cruella leaves 2 Dalmatian puppies at the home of Roger and Anita, named Pongo and Perdita. Roger, now working as a songwriter, begins on his latest work, a song about Cruella De Vil. If she doesn't scare you, no evil thing will. Today, we're recapping the fantasy comedy movie called The Witches. Beware of spoilers ahead. A group of children watch a slideshow as a voice tells them that witches are real, and they hate children. Their whole purpose in life is to find and squash them. Soon, it's revealed that this voice belongs to our hero, who begins telling his story. In 1968, an 8-year-old boy tragically loses his mom and dad in a car accident and is sent to live with his grandmother in Demopolis, Alabama. Grandma leads the boy to his mother's childhood room and leaves him to unpack while she makes hot chocolate. But, surrounded by memories of his dead mother, the boy only feels more alone and depressed. His grandma does her best to try and cheer him up and bring him out of his shell. But the boy spends hours mourning his parents, ever refusing to eat or socialize with other children in the neighborhood. Grandma gives the boy a direct heart-to-heart, explaining that, sometimes, God wants to send a lesson to us in ways we don't understand. His mother's death feels unfair, but she interprets it as a sign God had a bigger plan for his mother. Somewhat comforted by the idea that it wasn't all for nothing, the boy eats some cornbread and shows signs of progress. The next day, Grandma brings the boy a pet mouse to keep him comfort. When she asks what he's going to call the mouse, he names her Daisy. Over the next few days, the boy comes out of his shell as he plays with and takes care of Daisy, teaching the mouse some new tricks. Eventually, he's back to his old self, dancing with Grandma and having a good time. But outside, a strange woman watches. Out of nowhere, Grandma suddenly comes down with a violent cough. The next day, the boy and his grandma go to the market. The boy asks Grandma if he can buy some nails to build Daisy a house, but she insists that he gets the more expensive but safer nails. While he goes to get the nails, Grandma once again experiences an intense cough. In the aisle, the boy is approached by a mysterious woman, the same one who was watching outside his house. She offers him a candy, but his attention is caught by the snake slithering out of her sleeve. Sensing his terror, she assures him the snake is tame. Grandma, still coughing, comes to find the boy. Cinema recap here. We've got a little challenge that'll take 5 seconds, and it will change your life forever. You ready? All you gotta do is like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, and you'll receive 10 free years of good luck. It's as simple as that. He tries to explain what happened and pushes for them to leave early, but she's too distracted by her cough to pay attention. Realizing something is amiss, she agrees that they should go. Back at home, Charlie describes the woman he saw in the store, but Grandma clearly already knows what happened. After asking a few extra questions, she reveals that the woman in the grocery store was a witch, and she knows that for a fact, because she saw one herself. When Grandma was a child, She saw her best friend take candy from a strange woman. The next day, the girl mysteriously and inexplicably turned into a chicken. Grandma told everybody what had happened, but nobody believed her, instead assuming that the girl simply ran away. Every day she would visit her friend in the chicken pen, but she never turned back into a human. Realizing the danger they're in, Grandma goes into a locked closet to reveal a treasure trove of medicinal herbs and elixirs and ancient healing books. After consulting a crystal, Grandma tells the boy that they need to leave and make arrangements to stay at a safe local hotel. Because witches only prey on the poor, Grandma believes that a hotel filled with rich white people is the safest place imaginable. As they arrive at the hotel, Grandma explains that there's a coven of witches in every part of the country and the world, but all of them are ruled by one of the worst witches to ever live, the Grand High Witch. As Grandma checks in, the boy waves at a young boy who's clearly mistreated and unappreciated by his mother. Suddenly, Grandma suffers another coughing fit as the hotel manager, Mr. Stringer, introduces himself. As they disappear into the elevator, a large group of witches arrive, led by the Grand High Witch herself. Mr. Stringer welcomes them to the hotel, but after seeing her cat, Hades, informs them that pets are not allowed. The Grand High Witch questions what would happen if a mouse had somehow gotten into the hotel. Mr. Stringer explains that he would call the exterminator and get them wiped out, something that pleases the Grand High Witch and her coven. That night, Grandma suffers another aggressive cough. She claims that the cough is caused by witches and explains that witches aren't women at all, they're demons, and they're easy to recognize by their makeup, large nose holes, gloves and sleeves to hide their claws, heels to hide their deformed feet, and wigs to cover their bald heads. Grandma assures the boy that the witches can't harm them because they don't know where they are. But as they settle into sleep, Hades watches through the window and hurries down into the Grand High Witch's room to tell her. The next morning, the boy orders his grandma a big, delicious room service breakfast. Still suffering from her cough, she tells him to go to the beach or keep himself busy for the day. But after jokingly mentioning the risk of sea snakes, she unintentionally frightens the boy. Deciding against going to the beach, the boy wanders around the hotel, wandering into a room booked for the Children's Society meeting. Before he can enter, he's caught by Bruno, the kid he waved at the day before. The ever-hungry Bruno reveals that he's been told to meet a nice lady in the room, who promised him 6 bars of chocolate. Bruno is discovered and dragged away by his mother, but the boy goes into the room alone to train with his mouse. The boy sets up for his mouse training, but he's forced to hide beneath the stage when Mr. Stringer leads the Grand High Witch and the coven inside. The witches push Stringer out and lock the room from the inside. The Grand High Witch smells something strange, but she commands the witches to remove their disguises anyway, revealing their true and horrific appearances. The Grand High Witch angrily chastises the coven for their lack of success in finding and killing children. When one witch dares question the Grand High Witch's plan, she publicly kills the insubordinate witch, but admitting that it's a good question, the Grand High Witch explains her plan to wipe out children everywhere. The witches will each open a new candy store in their area, using the money found in a trunk in her room, number 666. The candy stores will sell high-quality candy laced with a mouse maker potion, which will turn children into mice that can then be squashed or otherwise exterminated. The Grand High Witch reveals that she bribed a young boy, Bruno, to come and get chocolate as a demonstration of her plan. Suddenly, the Grand High Witch smells a child beneath the stage, but when she rips the stage away, finds nothing. Right before she can get to the vent where the boy is hiding, Bruno turns up, demanding his chocolate. The Grand High Witch, now back in her disguise, lures the boy in with the 6 bars she promised him. But on cue, Bruno begins having a violent seizure, transforming into a mouse before the witch's very eyes. The Grand High Witch orders the coven to squash the mouse, forcing Bruno to go fleeing for his life. Inside the vent, Daisy, who reveals that she can now speak, vows to help Bruno. Daisy drags Bruno to their hiding spot, unintentionally leading the Grand High Witch to find the boy. She drags him out, but the boy refuses to open his mouth. Unable to feed the boy, the Grand High Witch forces the serum into his ear, turning the boy into a mouse. With the help of Daisy and Bruno, the boy manages to flee into the vent, chased by the Grand High Witch's elongated arms. The mice escape, and the Grand High Witch's claws get mangled in the fan as she tries to grab them. Daisy explains that the witches like to turn children into mice to kill them easier, revealing that she, too, was once a human girl. The boy plans to lead them to his grandma's room, taking a shortcut through the kitchen and the lobby. On the 4th floor, the mice make it to Grandma's room, climbing up to ring the doorbell, but the maid sees and chases them before contacting the exterminator. The frantic maid locks the mice in Grandma's room. The boy starts talking to Grandma, trying to explain what happened to them. She realizes that her grandson met and was transformed by the Grand High Witch, as were the other mice. Daisy explains that a year earlier she ran away from an orphanage, took candy from a stranger, and was also turned into a mouse. She also reveals that her real name is Mary. The boy reveals the Grand High Witch's plan to turn children into mice and kill them. Grandma agrees to look after the mice, keeping them safe from humans that may try to exterminate them. Hotel maintenance enters the room, laying a series of rat traps all over, featuring delicious cheese that Bruno struggles to resist. Grandma suggests that if she could get some of the serum, she could reverse engineer a cure. The group concoct a plan to break into the Grand High Witch's room while the witches are at dinner that evening. From their balcony above her room, Grandma and the boy watch as the Grand High Witch stores the potion in an ice bucket, which is then hidden away inside her room. Concealing the boy in a knitted pouch, Grandma successfully lowers him down to the room below theirs. In the Grand High Witch's room, the boy scales his way onto the table, successfully stealing one of the potions. But before he can leave, the Grand High Witch returns with Hades, who has been denied access to the dining room. The Grand High Witch reveals her huge trunk of money, which she plans to use to bribe Mr. Stringer. The boy rushes outside, climbing into the pouch with the serum. Grandma begins pulling it up, but the Grand High Witch stops the ascent, suddenly realizing that she's seen the grandma somewhere before. But before she can remember, Mr. Stringer interrupts with a kitty carrier for Hades. Grandma pulls the boy up safely. The Grand High Witch refuses the kitty carrier, but Hades seems to love it. She demands that Mr. Stringer ensure there be no garlic or flavoring in the pea soup, something he accepts. Angry at Hades, the Grand High Witch locks him inside. In her room, Grandma attempts to reverse engineer a cure for the potion, but it doesn't work. The potion apparently doesn't alter itself, meaning that the mice will likely never return to their human forms. Grandma's upset that she couldn't save the children, but the boy doesn't seem to mind it too much. He asks if his grandma will continue to take care of him as a mouse, and she promises to look after him and his friends always, no matter how they may look. Daisy insists that they can still take down the witches, even if they're mice. The boy comes up with a plan to slip the potion into the witch's pea soup, turning them into mice and saving children everywhere. Before the meal, Grandma helps sneak the mice and the potion into the vents. In the kitchen, the boy sneaks in, pouring the whole serum into the flavorless pea soup. But as the boy sneaks out, one of the chefs notices the mouse and calls an exterminator. In the lobby, Bruno points out his parents to Grandma, who decides she's going to have a word with them. She reveals to his parents that their son has been turned into a mouse, but Bruno is too busy eating to say anything to them. His hysterical parents storm off in a wave of panic and terror. The boy returns, with all 3 mice hiding out in Grandma's bag as they watch the witches receive the soup. Mr. Stringer pulls Grandma aside to ask if she's hiding mice. She denies the claims, turning the table on him by publicly revealing the rat traps all over the hotel. Hoping to maintain the hotel's pristine image, Mr. Stringer grants her access to the finest table in the restaurant. Grandma instead takes a seat near the kitchen, with a prime view of the witches. But before the Grand High Witch can eat the soup,
she spots Grandma and starts to approach. The Grand High Witch reveals that she now remembers who Grandma was, taunting her with the knowledge that she turned her best friend into a chicken and loved it. But the Grand High Witch is suddenly distracted as the witches turn into ugly rats, one by one. The mice seize the moment, stealing the dangling key from her pocket. As the restaurant descends into chaos, Grandma and the mice slip into room 666, the Grand High Witch's room. Inside, they find a treasure trove of the mouse potion, with Grandma planning to steal all of it, but some of the bottles drop on the floor and under the bed. The mice head down to get it, but are distracted by the Grand High Witch's return, unbeknownst to Grandma. The witch threatens to kill Grandma in excruciating detail, but the mice snap the traps onto her feet and force her to swallow the mouse serum. In seconds, the Grand High Witch turns into a hideous, deformed rat. The Grand High Witch chases the mice through the mousetrap-lined room, but Grandma traps her inside a glass container stacked with books. The boy searches through the Grand High Witch's remains to find the key to the trunk. He hands it to his grandma, who opens the trunk to reveal all the money and a book containing the names of every witch in the world. They plan to hunt every witch down and turn them into rats. Before she leaves, Grandma hurries out to the balcony, releasing Hades from his cage. As Grandma leaves, Hades knocks the books off the container and releases the Grand High Witch before killing her. The next day, Grandma and the mice leave the hotel. Grandma's so happy that she tips every member of the staff generously with the money she stole from the Grand High Witch. Grandma approaches Bruno's mother, allowing their son to explain that he is a mouse. Sadly, Bruno's mom and dad aren't thrilled about the idea of having a mouse as a son, so Bruno decides to stay with Grandma, the boy, and Daisy permanently. At home, the mice enjoy a ride on an elaborate roller coaster contraption throughout the house. The boy tells his grandma that, even though he's a mouse, he still feels like a boy, and she encourages him to never give up what you are inside. She still sees him as her grandson, not a mouse. The boy asks how long mice live, and while he and Grandma are aware that mice only live for a short few years or so, they decide to make the most of their time together as a big happy family. At Christmas, the mice enjoy a dance party with Grandma. A slideshow reveals the adventures Grandma and the mice had over the next few years, including buying a trailer with the words "Witch Hunters" on it. Finally, we return to our hero, now an older mouse, and the slideshow that began the story. Having successfully eradicated witches from the United States, he and his grandma are looking to take their battle to the entire world, to free children all over the planet from the witches. The children watching the slideshow are the latest witch hunter recruits, all of them with their own names to hunt down and destroy using the Mouse Maker potion. The children seem very excited about the opportunity. Finally, Grandma looks at our hero and asks if he's ready for this mission. He replies that he's never been more ready in his life, and she looks on with pride as the children head out to destroy the witches.
Today, we're gonna recap the fantasy musical, The Lion King. Spoilers ahead. The sun rises over the African Pride lands as animals from all corners of the kingdom embark on a journey to Pride Rock. King Mufasa, the ruler of the Pride lands, looks over his kingdom as Rafiki, his advisor and shaman, arrives to begin a ceremony. Mufasa nuzzles with his queen, Sarabi, who cradles their newborn child, Simba. Rafiki triumphantly raises Simba in the air on top of the rock. The animals in the kingdom cheer in celebration, bowing in honor of the new prince. A tiny mouse scurries through the wilderness, eventually encountering Scar, Mufasa's jealous and intimidating brother. Before Scar can kill the mouse, a hornbill, Zazu, interrupts, announcing the arrival of Mufasa, who's unhappy that Scar did not attend the ceremony. Scar refuses to answer to anybody and goes to eat Zazu, only to be stopped by Mufasa, who demands an answer for his brother's absence. Scar expresses his frustration at being denied his place on the throne now that Simba has been born. Mufasa urges Scar not to turn his back on family, but Scar warns Mufasa not to turn his back on him. Scar backs down from challenging his brother for the throne, believing he got the brains while his brother got the strength. Mufasa reminds Scar that Simba will one day rule the kingdom, to which Scar says, "Long live the king." Scar leaves his cave, but Mufasa refuses to expel his brother from their home, something that will never change as long as he is king. In his tree, Rafiki uses nearby bugs to craft a drawing of Simba. Sometime later, Simba is now an eager cub, desperate for adventure. He wakes up his father early in hopes that they can do things together, but Mufasa uses the moment as an opportunity to teach his son essential lessons about how to be a king. He explains that everything the light touches in the Pride Lands is for them to protect, but anything beyond is forbidden. He goes on to tell his son that every animal is connected in the circle of life, a delicate balance of life and death that a good king will respect and protect. Zazu interrupts the father-son bonding to give Mufasa the morning report. Cinema recap here. We've got a little challenge that'll take 5 seconds, and it will change your life forever. You ready? All you gotta do is like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, and you'll receive 10 free years of good luck. It's as simple as that. With Zazu distracted, Mufasa uses the moment as an opportunity to teach Simba how to hunt. Simba successfully takes Zazu down, but the bird quickly returns to report that hyenas are hunting in the area. Mufasa orders Zazu to take Simba home to Sarabi and the other cubs. Simba fights back but reluctantly goes home. Back at Pride Rock, Zazu leaves Simba to play with the other cubs, but Simba gets distracted trying to catch a flying beetle. His failure lands him in Scar's hideout, where his uncle offers the young prince some advice. Go home. Simba tells Scar about all the things his dad showed him, musing how weird it is that he'll be the one giving Scar orders when he's king, a thought that angers Scar. When Simba shows curiosity about what lies beyond the horizon, Scar claims it's an elephant graveyard, manipulating the cub to go there against his father's wishes. Simba interrupts his best friend Nala's bath, claiming that they're going to the watering hole. But when they're about to leave, Sarabi insists that Zazu go with them, or they don't go at all. On the way, Simba reveals to Nala where they're going. Simba and Nala plot to get rid of Zazu, who muses that the pair will be married someday. Both Simba and Nala insist that will never happen. They're friends. But Zazu reminds them that it's tradition, and if Simba refuses, he'll be a terrible king. Simba announces that when he's king, he's going to change the rules and do things his way, to Zazu's bemusement. With the help of other animals, Simba and Nala lose Zazu and make it to the sinister elephant graveyard unaccompanied. On the way, they fight, with Nala once again pinning Simba down with little effort. While exploring the remains, a pack of hyenas led by Shenzi, Kamari, and Azizi find the lions. Realizing that Simba is the king's son, the hyenas are ready to kill and eat him, but Zazu warns them that killing Simba would start a war with Mufasa. The hyenas, unfazed, attempt to kill Simba as Zazu tries to distract and hold off the hyenas long enough for the cubs to flee. Eventually, they find themselves surrounded by the pack. Simba does his best roar, but the hyenas laugh at him. A louder, stronger roar echoes when he tries again, and Mufasa leaps in to fight off the hyenas. He warns Shenzi of the consequences if the hyenas come near Simba again. Mufasa takes the cubs home, but he's upset with Simba. He orders Zazu to take Nala back to Pride Rock before expressing his disappointment in Simba for putting the future of the Pride in danger. The cub tries to justify his actions, explaining that he was trying to be brave like Mufasa. Mufasa reveals that he's only brave when he needs to be. Today, he was scared of losing his son. Simba realizes that even kings can be afraid. Mufasa and Simba look up at the stars, with Mufasa revealing that the great kings of the past are looking down on them from the skies. He tells Simba that he'll join him one day and guide Simba when he feels alone. Meanwhile, Scar arrives at the hyena hideout as the pack complains about their lack of food. Scar expresses his disappointment that the hyenas could not kill 2 cubs, who were hand-delivered to them. He promises the hyenas an unending supply of food from the Pride Lands if they help him kill Mufasa and Simba, allowing him to take the throne. Convinced by his offer, the hyenas eagerly agree to help. The next day, Scar brings Simba to an empty gorge to teach Simba how to roar, a surefire way to impress his father. If he can master his roar, he will never be called a cub again. Scar leaves Simba to practice his roar, but this is all part of his plan. Above the gorge, the hyenas are waiting for Scar's signal. As Simba practices his roar, he notices something is wrong. The rock faces begin to crumble. The earth starts to shake. Simba looks up at the cliff to see a wildebeest stampede heading his way. The hyenas chase the wildebeest into the gorge, forcing Simba to flee for his life. The tiny cub manages to hide behind a rock. At Pride Rock, Scar tells Mufasa that Simba has gotten caught up in the stampede. Zazu and Mufasa rush to save him. With the rock destroyed, Simba climbs a tree for safety, but the rampaging wildebeest threaten to knock it down. Zazu finds the cub, assuring him that help is on the way. Mufasa rushes down to help his son, and Scar sends Zazu away to warn the Pride. Mufasa braves the stampede, rescuing Simba, but the king is soon carried away by the rampaging wildebeest. Simba watches as Mufasa leaps out of the fray, climbing the rock face. He reaches the top of the cliff but can't pull himself up, asking Scar for help. The power-hungry Scar sinks his claws into Mufasa's paws, offering a sinister, "Long live the king," before throwing his brother to his death. Simba watches as his father falls into the stampede. In the aftermath, Simba rushes into the gorge to find his father's lifeless body. The devastated cub begs his father to wake up, but it's too late. Simba nestles himself in his father's arms as Scar arrives, convincing Simba that he is the reason Mufasa died. He claims that Simba proved to be the ultimate disappointment to his parents and his pride, encouraging Simba to run away and never return. Terrified, Simba does just that. The hyenas arrive, and Scar tells them to kill Simba. The hyenas chase the cub to a cliff top, sending him flying over the edge. Shenzi orders Kamari and Azizi to go down and make sure he's dead, but the hyenas assume that the cub couldn't possibly have survived the fall, and neither wants to make the journey to check. They make a deal to lie to Shenzi and leave, unaware that Simba survived the fall. Simba begins his journey into exile, wandering into the wilderness. At Pride Rock, Scar announces Mufasa's death to the lionesses and reveals that Simba also died. He feigns grief and sadness that he could not have stopped the incident, but takes his place as the new king of the Pride Lands. He explains that he can't handle the burden alone and announces that the hyenas will be helping to ensure the safety of the Pride. As Scar celebrates his coronation, Zazu and Rafiki watch from a distance, mourning the loss of their friends. In the desert, Simba walks alone. Exhausted, he eventually passes out. Later, a flock of vultures tries to eat Simba, only to be interrupted by meerkat and warthog duo Timon and Pumbaa, who scare them away. Realizing that the lion cub is alone, Timon and Pumbaa decide to adopt the cub as their own, to have an intimidating and strong adult lion on their side. When Simba wakes up, he's still depressed about the death of his father, but Timon and Pumbaa introduce the cub to their life motto, Hakuna Matata. To these guys, life is all about forgetting the past, answering to nobody, and living without worry or responsibilities. To protect their friends, Timon and Pumbaa introduce Simba to the world of eating bugs, and over time, he becomes close friends with them, adopting their carefree life philosophy as he grows into an adult cub. At the Pride Lands, wildebeests flee Scar and the hungry hyenas. Nala joins Sarabi and the lionesses as Zazu quietly gives the morning report, revealing that the hyenas have consumed almost all the food and resources in the land. The hyenas chase Zazu away as Scar arrives on Pride Rock. Nala tries to convince Sarabi to fight, but Sarabi refuses to defy tradition. Scar is the king, and they must never abandon their home. Sarabi assures Nala that their time is coming, but they must wait. Scar calls Sarabi over, bragging that he has perfected the kill. He will no longer be challenged as king. Scar demands that Sarabi be his queen, the only way to ensure that the other lions respect and accept him as the leader. But Sarabi rejects his advances, vowing never to be his queen. Scar punishes her by ensuring that the lions eat after the hyenas, meaning they get the scraps. That night, Nala sneaks out of Pride Rock while the lionesses sleep. As she evades the prowling hyenas, Zazu spots Nala, urging her to go back to sleep. Nala refuses, hiding from Scar, seemingly on the hunt for her. Zazu distracts Scar and the hyenas, allowing Nala to escape the Pride Lands unharmed. Sarabi watches her go. In the wilderness, Timon and Pumbaa explain to Simba their understanding of the circle of life, or as they call it, a meaningless line of indifference. To them, life is a line in which you can do anything with no consequence to anybody. Timon and Pumbaa ask Simba to plan what they'll be doing for the day. Simba chooses to do nothing but eat grubs, to the joy of his new friends. That night, Simba, Timon, and Pumbaa look up at the stars. While Timon and Pumbaa wonder what could be up there, Simba shares Mufasa's wisdom. The kings of the past are looking down on the kingdom. His friends laugh it off, but Simba, lost in thought, slips away to be alone. As he lays down, the wind blows some fur from his mane. Many animals carry the fur from location to location until eventually it reaches Rafiki. Sensing that Simba is alive and well, he returns to his drawing, updates it, and rejoices. While singing and dancing through their safe home, Timon, Pumbaa, and the other animals are attacked and chased by Nala. Before she can capture them, Simba leaps out and pounces on her. During the fight, Nala pins Simba down, leading him to the exciting realization that this is his best friend. Nala is thrilled to see that Simba is alive. Explaining that Scar has destroyed the Pride Lands, Nala urges Simba to come home and take his place as king. Simba insists that this is his new home and convinces Nala to hang out for a while. As Simba shows Nala around his new home, Timon and Pumbaa realize that the two lions are falling in love. It's only a matter of time before they lose their new carefree friend to a life of responsibility. Later, Nala asks why Simba never bothered coming home. Still feeling guilty, Simba refuses to go back home, even after hearing about the decimation of the Pride Lands. She urges him to challenge Scar, but Simba is too stubborn and fixed in his no worries mindset. Disappointed with Simba's total lack of responsibility, Nala decides to leave. In the wilderness, Simba wanders alone, believing he doesn't need anybody else to be happy. In the middle of the forest, he finds Rafiki, who follows him. Simba tries to get rid of Rafiki, but the shaman won't leave until Simba knows who he is, the son of Mufasa. Rafiki reveals that Mufasa is alive and waiting for his son. Simba follows him through the woods to a small lake. Rafiki shows Simba his reflection, which turns into an image of Mufasa, and Rafiki tells Simba that his father lives in him. In the sky, Simba sees his father, illuminated in lightning, and hears his voice encouraging him to take his place in the circle of life as the king of the Pride Lands. Mufasa expresses his never-ending pride in having Simba as his son. He assures Simba that he'll never leave. Simba just has to remember who he is. Realizing his purpose in life, Simba runs to catch Nala. Timon and Pumbaa witness Simba roaring with newfound purpose. Simba and Nala return to the Pride Lands, now wholly decimated and destroyed. Realizing the extent of the damage, Simba and Nala vow to fight to rescue their home. Zazu arrives, thrilled to see Simba once again. Timon and Pumbaa also join, admitting that they did, in fact, have worries about their new friend. With no clear way into Pride Rock, Simba comes up with the idea to use Timon and Pumbaa as live bait to distract the hyenas and lead them away. Rafiki watches as the plan unfolds, retrieving a large stick. On Pride Rock, Scar tries once again to convince Sarabi to be his queen, but she still refuses. After she tells him that he's nothing compared to Mufasa, Scar attacks Sarabi in front of the lionesses. Simba roars to break up the fight, with Scar mistaking him for Mufasa. Announcing himself as Simba, the Pride are thrilled to see that he's alive and well. Nala announces that Simba is the true king, and the lionesses back her up. With his newfound support, Simba offers Scar a final choice: step down or fight. Scar once again turns the tables on Simba, forcing him to announce to the Pride that he was the one who killed Mufasa. Scar angrily pushes Simba to the cliff's edge, causing him to slip and hang over the edge just as Mufasa did. Below, lightning strikes a tree, starting a fire. Scar reveals to Simba that he was the one who killed Mufasa, in the exact same way. Realizing the truth, Simba angrily pounces on Scar, telling the truth to the lionesses. Scar tries to lie once again, but Sarabi finds holes in Scar's story. Unwilling to accept defeat, Scar orders his hyenas to kill the lions, beginning an all-out war between the two tribes. As Nala and Shenzi fight, Zazu and Rafiki also join to get some hits before Timon and Pumbaa arrive to join the battle. Nala throws Shenzi off the cliff, and the lions chase the hyenas away. Simba spots Scar attempting to flee and follows him. Simba finally confronts Scar at the top of a giant rock. With no way of escape, Scar attempts to blame the whole thing on the hyenas and claims he was planning to kill them, unaware that they're listening. Scar begs Simba for mercy, and Simba agrees, ordering Scar to run and never come back. Scar accepts, only to throw hot embers in Simba's face. The two fight until Simba knocks Scar off the cliff and into the flames, but Scar manages to survive, only to see the hyenas coming for him. As he tries to win them back, the hyenas reveal they heard him throwing them under the bus and kill him. That night, the falling rain washes the fire out. With the hyenas gone, the lionesses return to Pride Rock as Simba finally ascends to his throne. Mufasa's voice encourages Simba to remember. He reaches the edge of the cliff and lets out a stunning roar, officially becoming the Lion King. Sometime later, the Pride lands have returned to their bright and natural glory. Timon, Pumbaa, and their friends have moved in. Animals from all across the land arrive in celebration as Nala joins Simba on top of Pride Rock. Rafiki makes his way to the edge, presenting the king's newest cub, Kiara, to the animal kingdom, ensuring that the circle of life will continue.
Today, we're recapping the fantasy comedy movie It's a Boy-Girl Thing. Spoilers ahead. Nell Bedworth reads Shakespeare in her room. Her peaceful quiet is disrupted by Woody Dean, the varsity player next door who loves hip-hop and partying. She demands that he turns the music down, but he refuses to turn it off unless she flashes him. Nell refuses, but accidentally flashes him when her shirt gets trapped in the window. The following day, Nell receives a letter from Yale confirming that she has an interview next week. Her parents show complete faith in her because she's never once let them down. In Woody's house, his parents discuss the possibility of Woody getting scouted by a college football team. If he did land it, he would be the first member of the family to attend college. But if it doesn't work out, his father promises a job with him at Spatula World. Something Woody doesn't want to imagine. Nell misses the school bus and is forced to walk to school, while the very popular Woody gets a ride with his friend, Horse. Spotting Nell walking alone, Woody and Horse drive through a large puddle of water, thoroughly soaking her. The water makes Nell's hair puff up, making her a laughingstock at school. Nell and Woody get into another public spat, with Nell mocking the inevitably meaningless failure of a life Woody and his girlfriend Brianna will eventually have. Woody sabotages Nell's on-screen study materials in class, replacing a legitimate Aztec research source with pornography. The class visits a museum on a field trip, Exploring the history of the Aztec civilization, their teacher pairs off all the classmates, pairing Woody and Nell together to avoid the kids forming cliques. Again, the two of them begin fighting and lashing out at one another in front of a statue of the ancient god, Tezcatlipoca, the god of sorcery. During their argument, the sculpture casts a spell on them. They go their separate ways, unaware of whatever happened. That night, Woody and Nell enjoy their evenings in their own ways, Nell reading and Woody dancing to hip-hop. They fall asleep, and the spell completes its final phase. The following day, Woody and Nell wake up in unfamiliar rooms to discover
Cinema recap here. We've got a little challenge that'll take 5 seconds, and it will change your life forever. You ready? All you gotta do is like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, and you'll receive 10 free years of good luck. It's as simple as that.
they've inexplicably swapped bodies. Immediately, the pair struggle to work with their new and strange genitals, with both struggling even to wear clothes properly. In Nell's body, Woody bumps into her overbearing mother, who demands she sit down and eat her oatmeal before leaving. In Woody's body, Nell eats the weird and unfamiliar food cooked by his mother. Woody leaves the food for Nell's dog, but her mother is so impressed with his eating speed that he gets another helping. Nell leaves Woody's house as Horse pulls up to give his friend a ride, but Nell can't even open the door to the car. Woody runs out of the house to see that they've already gone. Woody is forced to walk, and because everyone else sees him as Nell, he misses the bus. Nell arrives at school and immediately bumps into Woody, who demands to know what's happening. Unsure of what happened or why, they agree to figure out a way to get back into their original bodies. Nell cries in Woody's body, forcing Woody to take action to protect his reputation. They plan to ride out the rest of the day, hoping it will go back to normal tomorrow. In class, Woody is called on to deliver Nell's speech on the greatest living American, but completely messes up, claiming that the honor belongs to Jennifer Lopez. Nell is completely humiliated and confronts Woody after class. In the cafeteria, Nell is summoned to join Woody's classless friends, but is interrupted by Brianna, who invites Woody over for the night. Nell, horrified, turns her down and runs away. Brianna is humiliated by what she believes is Woody's public rejection of her love. Nell joins Horse in the workshop and suggests that she has no intention of going to Woody's practice. Horse says the coach won't be happy with that. In a moment of impulse, Nell calls Horse out for his foul language. Nell does her best to keep up with the athletes, but finds it impossible to do so. She falls, misses the ball, and is generally unhelpful to the team, holding them back from victory. The coach rips Nell for what he sees as Woody's complete failure and lack of effort. If he doesn't try, he'll be watching from the sidelines. Horse gives his friend a pep talk, but Nell can't take her eyes off his naked genitals. The following day, Woody wakes up to Nell's radio playing Elton John, crappy music in his opinion. At school, Woody confronts Nell, having heard what happened at practice. To Nell, it's just a game, but Woody can't allow himself to be dropped from the team. Suddenly, they realize they're wearing wildly different outfits that go against their established reputations. When Nell refuses to stop wearing the preppy look, Woody pledges to take action into his own hands. Next day, Woody steps off the bus in high heels and a shorter than short skirt, transforming Nell into a so-called high-class hooker. Nell tries to protect her reputation, but Woody defies it. At lunch, he eats like a pig. To get her vengeance, Nell humiliates Woody at a drama audition, playing Shakespeare like an overly aroused teenager. In the men's room, Nell compliments another guy's penis to be friendly. Nell approaches Brianna, breaking up with her while in Woody's body. Woody rushes over to get answers, but Nell is unapologetic, telling him that he'll get over it. Angry, Woody tells Nell that tonight is the night she will lose her virginity, before driving off with a biker boy, Nicky. At Nicky's place, Woody drinks like crazy. Nicky, putting on the moves, unsuccessfully attempts to seduce the person he believes is Nell. Woody's mom checks in on Nell, who she believes is her son, giving him a pep talk and encouraging him to let things happen as they do. Whatever he does, they'll be proud. Woody convinces Nikki that they can't have sex on the couch, so Nikki suggests the bedroom, but Woody panics, realizing the confused sexuality of the situation. Woody tricks him and flees into the woods. The next day, Nell plays an Elton John song to Horse's confusion and frustration. Horse tells his friend that Nell and Nikki got it on the night before, terrifying Nell into thinking he went through with it. Nell cries in the stairway and is found by one of the teachers, confused why Woody is so emotional. When Nell confesses that she just found out she lost her virginity in a trailer park, the teacher quickly moves on to his next class. Woody arrives the next day to find people laughing at Nell. As she approaches her locker, Nell finds hurtful words smeared on her locker. Woody arrives to see how upset she is about the rumors. He confesses that he didn't actually lose Nell's virginity. Everybody's just spreading Nikki's lies. Seeing that she's still disappointed, Woody vows to confront Nikki and end the rumors. Woody searches the school for Nikki, eventually finding him in gym class. He publicly confronts Nikki, who continues to spread the lies. Woody tries to punch him, but Nikki effortlessly stops the punch. Nell punches Nikki in the face while in Woody's body, demanding that he tell everybody the truth. Nikki reluctantly apologizes for spreading lies. Now filled with adrenaline, Nell promises to fix things between Woody and Brianna. But Woody is pessimistic. Homecoming is next week, and they have no way of getting back to their bodies. They think back to when the body switch happened and realize that they fought right in front of the statue of the ancient god of sorcery. Nell and Woody return to the museum, confronting the statue. Nell tries to negotiate with the figure, hoping to get them returned to their bodies. But when they finish the negotiation, they find that they're still trapped in the wrong body. As Nell and Woody try to figure out their next steps, Woody realizes that Nell has all of his strength. He just has to show her how to use it. In return, she offers to help Woody study so he can pass Nell's upcoming Yale interview. Woody teaches Nell how to play football before the homecoming game, but she's far from a natural. Later that night, Nell helps Woody understand the meaning behind Shakespeare's work. That night, Nell has a conversation with Woody's father, who reveals that he used to hang out with Nell's dad, but Nell's mom disapproved of Woody's parents and put an end to it. The next day, Woody arrives at school to find one of Brianna's friends, Chanel, crying. She saw Horse making out with another girl in his car. To comfort her, Woody asks why Chanel goes out with guys like that when she knows these guys will break her heart. Chanel explains that she felt invisible until she dated Horse and became friends with Brianna. Woody comforts her, explaining that everybody's afraid of being invisible. Now Chanel sees Nell as somebody who doesn't care what anybody thinks. She admires that. Chanel brings Woody, still in Nell's body, to Brianna's sleepover. Even though Brianna isn't initially all that excited, she comes around when Woody suggests that Nell is just looking to have fun now. In Horse's car, Nell is disappointed to see him checking out other women because Chanel isn't around. Horse explains that Woody was the faithful one, but he's the one who's out to have a good time. He takes Nell to a party. At the slumber party, Woody gets Nell's toes painted and listens as Brianna and the girls laugh at and mock him. Noticing that Nell has an all-natural vibe downstairs, the girls decide to take action and give her a Brazilian bikini wax. Woody suffers through the excruciating pain. At the party, Nell joins with the guys to get totally hammered. Woody visits Nell the following day, helping her cope with the overwhelming hangover. She thanks him for taking care of her, and it's clear that feelings are developing between them. Woody runs through football practice with Nell, but soon notices that Nell is aroused. She tries to convince Woody not to read anything into it. That night, Nell sneaks out of the house and visits Woody as he's trying to figure out what to wear for the interview the next day. Woody suggests that, while they're in the wrong bodies, They go to the homecoming dance together, but not as a date. Nell accepts the non-date date and slips out of the room, hurting herself in the process. At dinner, Nell's parents question their daughter's bizarre behavior of late. Woody tells her that she's planning to study with Woody again, but her mom isn't happy about Nell wasting her time on a boy she believes is a stupid loser. Woody is forced to listen as Nell's mother rips him and his family apart, blaming genetics for their many failures, something Nell once agreed with. Her husband says nothing, but clearly disagrees. Later, Nell's father gets the door and finds Woody asking if he can see Nell. Under his wife's orders, he says that Nell has gone back to school to do some extra studying. Nell asks how Mr. Bedworth has been and sends good wishes to his wife before kissing his cheek and leaving. Nell's father is clearly unnerved by the act. On a football field, Nell finds Woody angrily throwing footballs in the rain. Woody angrily explains that he's doing this because football is all that he's ever been, and he's not even that. Nell believes that he's more than just football, but Woody rejects that, believing that people like Nell, people who are intellectual and advantaged, don't understand him. Woody believes that his destiny is in jeopardy because of the swap. He shouldn't be attending a college interview. Nell tells him to let things fall into place, to let things happen, but Woody rejects them, repeating her mother's words. He's stupid, uneducated, plagued by bad genetics. He throws her the ball and leaves. Alone, Nell and Woody stare at one another's achievements and future plans. The next day, Woody, in Nell's body, arrives for her interview at Yale. When questioned about Nell's love of poetry and literature, Woody fumbles the question, messing up Nell's interview and robbing her of a chance. But before leaving, Woody starts talking about his passion for the modern-day poets, rappers. The dean is impressed and astonished by this young woman's passion for something she describes as a modern-day art form. That night, Nell sits on a bench during the biggest football game in Woody's sporting life. Woody arrives to see the game, settling in with his parents to watch. But it's clear the game isn't going so well. Nell manages to turn their fortunes around, bringing the game closer to victory and earning the praises of Woody's parents, something that profoundly affects Woody. With time running out, Nell manages to land the winning touchdown in the game's final seconds. After the game, Nell is approached by a college recruiter, impressed by the incredible performance, who offers him a future with his team. Nell and Woody both express how much they enjoyed the experience in the other's shoes, and that if they had to be trapped in someone else's body, they'd be honored to be one another. At that moment, the statue reverses the spell, returning Woody and Nell to their original bodies. Woody is carried away by his team, and Nell walks in on him and Brianna kissing. Upset, she heads home alone. The next day, Woody tries to speak to Nell, but her mother refuses to let him in, believing him uneducated. Nell receives her acceptance letter from Yale, but she's not happy about it. On the night of the homecoming dance, Woody pretends to be interested in Brianna, but he's clearly moved on. Chanel and Horace are back together, but she finds a pair of panties in his car. Chanel convinces Horace to pull the vehicle over, pretending to want to have sex. But while Horace strips in public, Chanel steals his clothes and drives away, leaving him naked in the middle of nowhere. At home, Nell's father has a conversation with her about why she's not going to the dance. She confesses that she likes Woody and is heartbroken by him going back to Brianna. Her father admits that he thinks Woody is a good one and encourages Nell to follow her heart. Knowing she didn't have anything to wear, her father reveals that he already bought her a dress and shoes, which she loves. At the dance, Woody is officially crowned homecoming king and Brianna homecoming queen. As Brianna launches into her prepared speech, Woody stares blankly ahead, feeling no joy about the situation. As they're about to take their first dance as homecoming king and queen, Woody is distracted by Nell, making her grand arrival. He breaks away from Brianna and approaches Nell, citing Shakespeare and confessing his love for her. She returns the feeling, and they kiss. Brianna, outraged, tries to stop the kiss, but Woody leaves with Nell. Chanel accidentally rips off the back of Brianna's dress, exposing her bare flesh. Horse arrives, naked and concealed only by 2 balloons. Outside their houses, Nell reveals to Woody that she got into Yale thanks to him. They share another kiss. The next day, Nell tells her mother that she's taking a year's sabbatical before attending Yale. Against her mom's wishes, she heads outside, climbs into Woody's car, and the pair drive off into the distance together.